I'm here with Marie from Miller's Bio Farm, and behind the camera that you don't see is Aaron Miller, founder of Miller's Bio Farm. And why is he behind the camera? Well, he's Amish, and they don't really necessarily believe in the smartphones or any of that, which I actually really appreciated and just sort of learned throughout is, just eliminating these sort of distractions that kind of push them a little bit further away from community and connection and all of that. So really appreciate that. But he's here. And so we are going to have this sort of round table discussion about all things Miller's and Miller's Bio Farm specifically. Also, I guess I forgot to say that we are doing a giveaway this hour because I accidentally forgot to pick a winner on our IG Live. So if you did attend our IG Live the other day, please let me know or email me. Again, all the information will be down below so that you guys can get an extra entry because that was my mistake. But you'll get a little goodie bag full of Millers of all my kind of top favorite choices. And yeah, so comment, engage. That'll enter you into the contest. I'm here with Marie from Miller's Bio Farm. And behind the camera that you don't see is Aaron Miller, founder of Miller's Bio Farm. And why is he behind the camera? Well, he's Amish, and they don't really necessarily believe in the smartphones or any of that, which I actually really appreciated and just sort of learned throughout is, just eliminating these sort of distractions that kind of push them a little bit further away from community and connection and all of that. So really appreciate that. But he's here. And so we are going to have this sort of round table discussion about all things Miller's and Miller's Bio Farm specifically. How did you guys start Miller's Bio Farm? Was it your family, your mom and dad, and then you took it over as a dairy farm, or did you guys start as a dairy farm earlier on?
We started as a dairy farm. And when I was 15, I had this big, vision of what we have now, direct-to-consumer real food. And then we started in 2009. In the organic food, of course, organic milk, and then we transitioned over. Like in 2011, we started trying to sell directly to consumers, but it took a while until we got the start.
Yeah, okay. So what is a while? So when did you guys start?
We started trying in 2010.
2010.
It didn't accomplish much till 2016.
Yes.
But, it's consistently going, trying to get your brand, your name out there.
Right. And then since then, you guys have expanded to just, different smaller local farms that also are up to your standards and quality in just all things dairy. And then also, what else do you guys have at Miller's?
So many things. So dairy, lots of dairy, eggs, chicken, beef, pork, raw honey, produce, baked goods, kombucha, so many things. It's like an online natural food store.
Online farmers market. And it's not just that. It is corn and soy free chicken, corn and soy free pork, 100% grass-fed A2 dairy. And yes, the quality is there. And yes, the micronutrients are there. And yes, the macronutrients are there. But more so than that, the flavor, the experience, it's so good and so yummy too. So of course, it's just sort of the whole deal and the whole package. So dairy, okay? Once you have Miller's, you will never go back, I swear. So it may ruin you, but let's talk about it. 100% grass-fed, A2 dairy. So we can, talk about the A2 variant, because I know a lot of people are curious about why is it healthier for you and why is A2 better? Or what are the different variants, A2, A1? So whether Aaron and Marie, you want to speak to that.
Well, Aaron, why did you get interested in A2? Because you were the one who's like, I think you called me one day and you were like, Marie, I want to sell A2 milk. And I'm like, what is that? And you already had done a ton of research on it. Why did you start with A2?
The reason we started with A2 is because I learned, this is just what I learned, is calves actually grow faster with A2 milk. But then where we got to is our Hannah, when she was a baby, she actually got, she wasn't happy with the baby formula, with the Weston A. Price baby formula. So Rebecca used A2 milk, decided to try it, and she was happy.
And it wasn't not just not happy. She, right, as Rebecca explained it, she was really colicky, crying all the time.
Yes.
Very, very upset.
It's very colicky. And so then we got A2 milk out for her normally. One day, Rebecca forgot to tell me, and I had no extra milk, so she got out of the bulk tank, which was A1, A2. And then she made a formula, and Hannah did not want that formula, did not want that bottle. So that evening, she was not happy all day, and she refused to drink it. So that evening, when I milked the cow, A2 cow, she took that, she mixed it, she gave it to her, and she took it, and she was happy.
Yeah.
After that, we decided as a family that there's a lot more people out here that actually want A2 milk. So we were one of the first ones to jump into the A2 milk.
And grass-fed, have they always been grass-fed?
Yes, 100% grass-fed A2.
Yeah, which is really hard to find. And in Pennsylvania...
Which is a difference between you can sell A2 milk even if it's A1, A2. It should be a double A2.
Right, exactly. Interesting. For those of you, you know, just kind of doing your research or in grocery stores or things like that. How long have you guys been doing it A2, 100% grass-fed?
We were 100% A2 since 2016.
Okay, 2016.
Is it?
I think so.
It might be.
For some reason, okay, so maybe we didn't 100% let everybody know till 17.
Yeah.
But I think it was the latter part of 2016 where we switched our whole herd out.
Yeah. It took you a while to switch your herd, though.
It did. It took us several years.
Yeah.
Okay.
But luckily when we tested, we had, 60, 70, 80%.
Wow. Yeah, and it's just, it's so creamy and the color is beautiful. And especially in your guys' butter, I wanted to ask you about that. That color is immaculate. Tell me about this. Is it just from, grass-fed? Because I know you also have spring-fed.
We separate spring butter from the rest of the butter.
Okay.
So spring butter is from cows that are eating 100% fresh grass, the first growth in the spring.
Yeah, okay.
So it's only from, how many weeks is it, Aaron?
It's only 4 weeks. It's from the fastest growing of the whole entire year.
Yeah. So 4 weeks of the year, we make butter, and we separate it out, and that's our spring butter, and that's the yellowest butter that you can ever have for the most part.
Everybody comments when I post it too on my Instagram. They're just like, "Whoa, that color!" And we'll dive into that too about that color doesn't always equal nutrients or not. And so this is why it's important to just have these conversations regardless of what it says on the label and regardless of how the color and how it looks, because there are ways that other people out there, producers or farmers, do make that color happen without it necessarily reflecting the micronutrient density of it. So with that said, we're in Pennsylvania, we're in Quarryville, and raw milk is legal here, correct?
You can go to the supermarket and buy raw milk here. That's right.
Yeah.
In Pennsylvania.
Wow. Or you can stop by Miller's Biofarm and just bypass the grocery store, because I try as much as I can to boycott the grocery store for many reasons. Yeah. Direct to farmer, where you can purchase, because you guys aren't in grocery stores here in Pennsylvania, right?
We don't sell in any stores anywhere.
Okay, great. Love that. So if you're nearby, or I've heard of plenty of families take their kids on road trips to come, up, because it's fun, little car ride, and then you can come, see some farm animals when you can, of course, like if they're not crazy busy over here, and pop by the farm, or you can get it delivered to your doorstep as well too. However, let's talk a little bit about raw milk versus your pasteurized milk, because both are equally amazing, and both still have a really great source of nutrient density too, because the pasteurization is like low temp fat pasteurized. So maybe let's talk a little bit about that.
So we have our raw milk, which is not heated ever. It just comes out of the cow, goes straight into the bulk tank, gets cooled down, and is bottled. There's no homogenization, there's nothing that happens to it. Yeah. So for the pasteurized milk, it's the milk that goes into the bulk tank, and then it's minimally pasteurized. So there's all different levels of pasteurization. Ours is vat pasteurized, that's like the technical term for it, but it's the lowest temperature you can heat milk to. So it's heated to 145 for 30 minutes. And that preserves the most amount of the nutrition that would be in the milk. It does preserve some microbiology. It's not completely dead. It preserves vitamins, minerals, enzymes, things like that.
Right, yeah. And again, I think that the quality of the A2 and the 100% grass-fed too is something that does stand out, as opposed to cow variants that are either A1 or conventional and that are still low vat pasteurized. You still have a better omega ratio in the 100% grass-fed
Absolutely. I don't think that the pasteurization affects the omega ratio. So that's interesting. But it does, you do lose some nutrition with pasteurization. It's just the lower temp you use, the more you can maintain.
Correct, yeah, exactly. So I've been drinking raw milk here the entire week, and I drink it at home too, but this week has just been such a delight to have it on tap here in Pennsylvania. So really great, nourishing, and there's nothing to be afraid of at all. So at least, if you're in Pennsylvania, you can get raw milk here, but when you guys also do deliveries, one can get raw milk for cats and dogs.
That's right. So in Pennsylvania, raw milk is completely legal. but raw milk is regulated like marijuana. The rules change state by state, and you can't do commerce in between the states. So we can't send our raw milk for humans across to New Jersey or across to Delaware. We can't do that. But for whatever reason, raw dairy for cats and dogs as pet food is allowed anywhere in the United States. So we can send our raw milk for cats and dogs anywhere.
Right. And that raw milk is the same exact formula and up to the same standards as what you guys sell here in Pennsylvania as raw human milk.
We make everything to really high standards. We have super high standards, not only for our farming practices, but how we make our products.
Right.
So we're choosing to make that raw milk for cats and dogs, same exact standards as our raw milk for humans. But if you come and you call the farm, ask the farm, hey, can I drink that raw milk for cats and dogs? We're going to say no, because it legitimately is a pet food. Our pets in the United States can eat better than humans, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
I know. So therefore, it becomes your choice. Like it is my choice every time I get that delivery. I'm like, you know, sure, I have a pet at home, but I also have a human at home. I like to feed and nourish it myself. So with that being said, the milk comes from more than just Miller's Biofarm, right? So now we have sort of this co-op of other farmers. And so you have goat, you have buffalo. We went to go visit the buffalo. I'd never seen actually buffalo in real life, really, I think.
They were so friendly.
Yeah, they were great. And you went over to the buffalo farm too as well. And just talking to, what was his name again? David. Yeah. How did you meet David?
Oh, I met David a while back. I mean, it's just mainly because close neighbors. And then, of course, it came around that he wants to milk buffaloes. So we were interested in trying to help him out.
Yeah.
They're so friendly, you can even ride them.
Oh my gosh. Did you say you barebacked them the other day?
No,
or
I
was
did
that
not
the horse?
bareback ride them.
David said he did, though.
Oh,
remember?
did he? Yeah.
Yeah, he did it.
Yeah. They're so friendly. And also what I love about the farmers too as well, that you guys have connected with. And again, when I connect with certain farms or, you know, those like yourselves too that have this sort of, you know, online farmers market co-op type of style, I also have sort of a standard and a quality in mind that I search for. And also just from a human perspective too, I love your guys' values and how you treat others from, I mean, just your entire staff in store to further on to your farmers that you work with too. And you guys have such a great relationship with them. And so these farmers are very open and always ask questions too of how can we make things better. Raw milk, when done properly and proper sanitation practices, which you guys have, is really the important thing. Is how it's produced, how it's made, the cleanliness, and all of these things, which is what you can have raw, be safe, and you can also have it at its most nutrient dense.
Right.
So.
Don't go to like the farmer down the road who's producing milk that's going to be pasteurized.
Right.
Because they don't need to follow safety standards.
No.
Right? They
it's
don't.
actually dirtier.
Yes, it's it can be very dirty. You don't need to clean. It's going to get pasteurized. They don't worry about that.
Yeah.
It can be quite dangerous. So don't do that. I mean,
pasteurization kind of just covers up sloppy practices.
What could be in milk that a pasteurized farmer would produce versus our milk?
So what could be in the milk is manure.
Lots of manure.
Well, it's just because ever since we started our cleanliness practices and testing every single batch, and we train our farms to do every single batch, it amazes me how much dirt can be on that teat when you go to put the milker on to milk a cow.
Right.
And how much it has been in there actually before we started our cleanliness practices.
Wow. Yeah, even with pasteurization. So just because you don't get like sick, right, doesn't mean that you're not maybe drinking a cup of manure.
Well, I don't want to say it's a cup.
No, but it is crazy to think that.
Well, I mean, tablespoon. I don't want any quarter teaspoon of manure in my mouth.
No.
So speaking of, she took me in this like little room where the testing does happen. And so you guys do this every day. So do you want to speak to how you guys test and how, you know, even though there is a threshold of what could be too much, you guys are on like the lowest spectrum of any sort of potential anything.
Are you wondering how we get to the lows, or are you wondering why we choose to be the lows?
All of it. So what do we test for? Okay, this is the first question. So we'll start
Well,
there.
what we test for in-house is coliform center plate count. The coliform is often, you know, dirt or manure or something. Something gets in somehow. Center plate count is more of the cleanliness of the equipment, the cooling of the milk. It's definitely an indicator. it's not hard to get high coliform milk. I mean, basically, you just have to be a little sloppy
Right.
to get that. The other thing that we've seen and noticed is
So what is the number of the high coliform?
the number of the state's number
Okay.
of the high coliform is 10.
Coliform. Okay, the
Yes.
state's number.
And maximum is 20,000 center plate count.
Okay, right. So we have two numbers, which we saw, and we'll show you kind of the process of what we did, the video and the recordings that we did the other day.
Yeah.
So right now we're going through just sort of the cleanliness of milk samples. They take every single milk sample, correct?
Every bulk tank sample and a bottled milk sample every time.
Yeah, and then what happens is the sample goes in here. I don't know if you could shine a light on there again. Right, cool. And so then they measure the coliform results as well as the APZ results. And what that simply means is how clean it is during milking, and then also, if there's any bad bacteria that is in the milk. And so this one is for pasteurized specifically.
This one is these are our raw milk tests,
great.
but the results we're aiming to get results that are below the limits for pasteurized milk after it's pasteurized.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So
and then and they're capped out at the coliform one is like they measure it by a 10, and then the APC is by 20,000, right?
Correct.
And so they are well under the limit. So it's like clean, pristine. So if anybody's worried about contamination of any sort, these guys are.
And it's
on
why
it.
the milk lasts so long. It lasts
right.
longer than most other raw milks because we do this. So it'll last like at least 2 weeks before it starts to sour.
Right. Yeah, I know. And their milk they're just all their dairy is phenomenal. I won't. Two numbers. So the 10 is the state, and then what is the Miller's way?
The Miller's average is often 1 or less.
Right.
Occasionally there's one that comes in 1 or 2. But what's very interesting is that gets communicated to the farmers. They know almost immediately what they did and what to correct.
Yeah.
In order to get it down to 0.
Right. And that's your kind of standard way, which
It is.
which we love.
It is. First, when we set this up, I never realized that we could get this low counts persistently consistent
Right.
every single time, like we are.
Right. And there were times where we did see like maybe just a random like one testing that was skyrocketed. So what do you guys do with that batch when you see something happen like that?
So with that batch, if it's above the state, we try to keep it back for cheese or something or butter. Every once in a while, we need to ship it out.
Yep.
But yeah, for the most part, I mean, often, matter of fact, when we see those tests, it comes from the tanker truck, which we are going to get our own. We're working on that.
Yep.
And when we question him, he says, "Oh, well, I should have washed it out better." And we're like, "Oh, okay, thank you,
Yeah.
but please do."
Right.
That's
right.
interesting. So it's your brother David's milk that comes in with the truck.
It is.
That's when those counts.
It is. And his counts are not that way.
Because he has his on-site
Yes.
testing on his farm, and then you
Yes.
test it once it's bottled on the
Yeah.
farm.
Oh, so that's cool because now you can like the data
We know
really
where
help
it's coming
you.
from.
Right. It had to happen in the middle.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so then the other count that you guys test for,
Center plate count,
standard plate count, yeah. So that's the state levels. You said 30,000.
20,000 is the
20,000.
max.
Okay, and the Miller's way
Is often, under 5.
yeah.
Yeah.
So can you explain what does that mean? Like, what is that test for?
Normally what people tell me that tests for is cleanliness of the equipment, and then also the cool down process of the milk. The heat up and cool down process of the milk. Like, milk comes out of the cow 101 degrees, and it gets put in the bulk tank, and if the bulk tank does not get it cooled down quickly, it will have a high center plate count.
So what is that, so 20,000, what is that measured in?
2,000 is 20 dots in the center plate count.
Ah, that's what it is. So,
So-
you're
The
counting the
dots.
dots.
And the
Yeah.
bubbles. It's right. Coliform is bubbles.
Dots connected to bubbles.
Dots connected to bubbles. So
Center
one
plate
dot
count is
little dots.
only dots and times 100.
But I don't know.
Got
what
it. So
we're
if it
counting.
was 20,000, so then how many dots would there be on the
There would be 2,000 dots.
2,000? Wow, who
Yeah.
counts that?
I don't. Well, okay, so if it's that high, I'll count it. But man, it'll take me 5 or 10 minutes to count those, and thinking still, I'm like, is this correct? I'll probably use a bigger microscope or something.
Right.
And then I'm going to be so fired up by the time I finish reading it that the farmer's definitely going to hear from me.
Yeah. So essentially, that's probably why your standard is like 1 or 2, because you don't want to be sitting there counting.
That's right. And
You're
the
like,
the other thing about this milk is, it just tastes from the barn if it's not clean. And we years ago already we had some some people call in and say, oh, you know, your milk tastes like a cow. It's not even good. I mean, this was back in
like 8
you know,
years
13,
ago, that
14.
was one of the biggest complaints that we would get. Your milk
Yeah.
is barney or your milk souring too quickly. And
Or-
we get no complaints like
or
that
it,
anymore.
or it tastes like a cow.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I don't even believe you.
Yeah.
But you know what? I actually do know.
Yeah.
Sorry, customers, if any of you are
It
listening.
really is
No.
good milk. I
Yeah.
know, it's so good.
Oh my gosh, it's fabulous. So
Those limits, the 10 and the 20,000, that's what's required for a raw milk permit in Pennsylvania, right? You have to be testing under those limits for a raw milk permit. But isn't that also the limit for pasteurized milk? They're testing pasteurized milk and it has to be below that amount,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
It's crazy to think about that.
interesting.
So
Yeah,
pasteurized
it's
milk,
different.
although they're killing it, it becomes like they kill everything, all the microbiology, right? But then it's like sugar water that becomes a vector for disease, right?
Right.
Everything wants sugar water, right? All the bacteria want to eat it. Anyway, so it's also the limit for pasteurized too, which I think is crazy.
Yeah, and then they probably get to put whatever on their label,
Yeah.
even though they're pasteurizing
Yeah.
it. And
I don't know.
yeah, it's a wild journey, and probably so much even more to explore about everything. I mean, even just how dairy is different across the board from each individual product. So we also went to the cheese, you know, producer, and that was fabulous to see just the whole process of it, and you know the steps that they take, and the what else the cultures that they put in there, and the differences, and that whole process. So tell us about the cheese.
What do you want to know about the cheese?
I don't know what cheeses do you guys. Oh,
Oh.
actually, there was a question, so we did take questions from the audience. So let's start at the cheese and why vegetable rennet in some of them, and why not in others? Because there are some that don't contain vegetable rennet.
Yeah, it is a really good question. So, in my opinion, the most natural rennet you can get is a beef rennet.
Correct.
That's what I like.
Yes.
And however, we have customers, like Indian customers, or who knows, lots of different types of customers who are choosing to be vegetarian and would prefer a vegetarian rennet. So we do make our mozzarella cheese is made with a vegetarian rennet.
I see.
So we do that.
Okay.
However, there's some vegetarian rennets that are really not great to use. Some of them have GMOs, so we're choosing a vegetarian rennet that is not
Perfect.
that, which is wonderful. But we have so many different types of cheese. So we have like mild cheddar, sharp cheddar. Those are very popular. Same
And
with
those
Gouda.
don't use vegetable rennet.
Those are beef rennet.
Right.
That's right.
Because those are the ones that I definitely get on tap at home.
Yeah. So it's just the ingredients are so simple. It's just like milk, culture, rennet, Celtic sea salt.
Yep.
That's it. That's all that's in our cheeses. It's the different cultures and the processing, the way it's made that changes the flavor. So we have mild cheddar, sharp cheddar, popular, Gouda, Colby, Swiss. Aaron, I'm forgetting so many.
And those
Mozzarella.
three
Paneer.
are beef rennet, not the mozzarella, but the ones before that. The Swiss, the Colby, the Gouda, and then the,
And the cheddar.
cheddar.
Yeah.
Yeah, because those are the ones that
All
I
beef
yep.
rennet, exactly. Mozzarella is our only one made with a vegetarian rennet, and then there's paneer, but that one doesn't use a culture at all because it's just the milk that gets separated and then pressed. So
Oh, interesting.
yeah, so
Didn't
that
know
one doesn't use a culture anyway.
Yeah.
So it's vegetarian naturally. And then we have some goat cheeses too.
Right.
Oh, we have a smoked cheddar and tomato basil cheddar. Am I forgetting any, Aaron?
Well, I don't think you are. Some of those, you know, might be in and out of stock, but definitely the first ones you named are by far the most popular
Mild cheddar,
ones.
sharp
Yeah.
cheddar.
Yeah.
So good.
And those are raw cheeses too. So, and those can absolutely be shipped for humans.
Yeah.
Right.
For some reason, raw cheese aged past 60 days is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and again, those are some of the amazing cheese. And especially, I know some of you guys had questions too about allergies or lactose and things like that. My, what I would suggest is somebody that have any sort of reactions to dairy is try to go to a dairy source that offers, I would say goat first, and especially A2A2. I mean, goat is naturally that. We'll talk about the cow A2A2 variant in a second, but if you try goat and it's 100%, you know, grass-fed and pastured and obviously super high quality, try that first. Then if that works, maybe you want to try and venture out, or you can try both, is the A2 cow's cheese is, and if it's 100% grass-fed, this is a great way to start to test. If you really want to, you know, try, like go through trial and error with this, or probably not error if you go to the best source, quality source of dairy. And why is that, Marie? Is because the enzymes in raw 100% grass-fed cheese and A2 variant, not only A2 is better on digestion, but also the enzymes in there also break down the lactose. So if anybody's lactose intolerant.
Yeah, so for lactose, it's interesting. So with cheese, lactose is milk sugar. So the longer a cheese is fermented or cultured, right, the longer it's aged, the more chance, the more that microbiology in the cheese is breaking down that lactose. So like our sharp cheddar, would have like basically no lactose in it because it's been aged for more than a year.
Right.
So there's that element to it. So if the cheese is aged more than 60 days, it's going to have very low lactose. But then there's the element of raw where the natural microbiology that's in raw dairy kickstarts something in your digestive system that makes you produce the lactase enzyme, which is what you need to break down lactose. So people who are lactose intolerant, they're either not producing or producing too little lactase, and that's why they're having a problem.
Yeah. So the raw, honestly, is the way for me at least, because you know it preserves those nutrients and also has all these beneficial bacteria and enzymes to help with digestion, to help with your immune system, to help with all of these things. So absolutely start there. And so that was one of the questions. And can dairy give you skin issues? Well, again, yes, if it's from maybe a low quality source, and maybe you are one of those that is allergic to dairy no matter what, A2 or 100% grass fed, but that's up to you to kind of decide. But if you were going to start somewhere, I'd start at a place like Miller's Biofarm for some of the top notch quality dairy to test out, to be honest, because that is, otherwise, you know, if you do and you're still having issues, then probably, no dairy.
We've heard from so many people, though, that come to us, they try our stuff, and they're like, oh my gosh, I can eat cheese again.
Yeah.
Or, oh my gosh, I can drink milk again.
Right.
And, like, that's just so wonderful to hear, you
know.
Because they're like, my mom hasn't had pizza in 20 years. I'm so happy I can get your mozzarella and make my mom pizza, you know? It's like those little things in life, you know?
This is decades, you know? I'm even coming to the conclusion now, too. I've been celiac, and I've had celiac disease for 22 years now-ish, and I, haven't been able to have gluten or wheat, but now that I understand, too, the process of that, it's been such a sprayed crop that it could have just been the glyphosate or the pesticides and the herbicides that were on there, or fungicides, whatever that's being sprayed to, do weed control or pest control or what have you. It could just be that. And, I might start trying to test, those levels. It's a little scary for me, but maybe I can, just like, your pizza customer was like, I can't believe I tried. It's like, wow, a world where you can just, have food and not get, all of these undesirable feelings.
Because it has that totally different type of gluten.
Right.
Than conventional wheat, maybe gluten AA or sourdough, I don't know.
Right.
Who knows? I'm curious.
I know. So again, it's about how things are produced and how things are made, and not really just like the food itself. So again, another reason why we do these interviews and just kind of the deep dives, so that we can start to understand the process a little bit better. I mean, dairy is a whole beast, as we talked about. There's so much we can talk about. I mean, we even saw how cottage cheese was made, and that's beautiful. It's just literally, skim milk and culture, and we were there.
You really have to be there for like a whole week nonstop, from like 6 a.m. to 4:30 to see everything.
Right.
These processes, they're long.
Yeah.
In the afternoon, they start culturing the milk for the for the cottage cheese, but they're not separating it until the next day. So you have to like really be there to see the whole process.
Yeah, I know. The whole process is beautiful. So we were at the eggs the other day, right? And can you tell us a little bit about what's going on maybe with the eggs and some of the challenges that we do face, such as maybe potentially a low production in the wintertime, and why? And is it the feed? Was the feed changed? But why did we change the feed?
So low production and feed change. The feed was definitely changed because of the feed we were using did not necessarily match our values, because of the color, and because, do we want to say we couldn't trust him?
Yeah, that's exactly the problem. Yeah.
So the low production, I think they're still figuring it out. But yes, naturally a chicken does lay less eggs in the winter unless you give them lighting and indoor space.
Interesting. So for the winter, because you guys can have pretty harsh winters here, how will the chickens be accommodated for, and what are your sort of tactics for this?
For the harsh winters, what they normally do is they give them lighting, and then some lighting, because the chicken normally needs, like, I forget what it is, 16 hours of lighting in a normal occasion to be good egg producers. Then they'll just put them inside out of the weather.
Right. And these are now like laying hens, right? They do have chickens that are corn and soy free fed meat birds, I like to call them, right? And then we have our laying hens too, which we actually went and gathered those eggs the other day and chatted with him a little bit too about the feed. Well, there was like two farmers there, or was there one? One was like the packing one.
We visited Raymond, who's the egg farmer,
right?
And he has the laying hens that lay the eggs, and then he gets the eggs and then he brings them to the egg packer. So we visited both of them. We got to see the hens, the eggs, and then where they get packed.
Yeah, and sort of the communication, just how they all work together, and again, it's just a really beautiful system, and quite frankly, having a lot of people involved can be intimidating, but you guys do it so well.
Well, the other beauty of this is, you know, there's so many different family farms that want to stay at home, work from home, you know, and give their children some work. Like the little, what was he, 6-year-old that was so proud to show us how he packs the eggs.
I know.
If Raymond would have done all that, you know, it probably would have overwhelmed him.
Yeah.
But he can send them right over several miles down the road to Chester, where he's more than happy to pack them and ship them.
So, yeah. Also, I source from places that are corn and soy free fed. Now, what's interesting about this is there's a lot of different businesses, whether it's farms or ranches or things like that, that catch on to the newest trends. And now corn and soy free is one of those, you know, things that are in people's mind is like that's all that matters. Where sometimes when you do take the corn and soy out of the feed, sometimes there's room to add other stuff that we don't really like. And so, or they'll add marigold or things like that to make the egg yolk more orange in the color. And sometimes a lot of people define that, the customer or anybody will define that as, oh, it's more nutrient dense. So do you want to tell us a little bit about the feed that you guys are, you know, just trying to dial in and also the results of it?
This has been a really hard egg year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So in the beginning of the year, when our feed is corn and soy free, and our old feed supplier, we just kind of lost trust. We didn't really know, believe he was saying what he was putting in the feed was actually what he's putting in the feed. So very quickly, the egg farmers were like, we need to find a new feed supplier. So they did, and they're amazing because they were willing to meet with us and talk to us and be like, what do you want in the feed? And we had a lot of hard decisions to make, and one of them was, do we put marigold and paprika in the feed? The only reason marigold and paprika is added to chicken feed is to make the yolks orange. That's it. And the reason every egg farmer does it now. Even store-bought eggs, when they're yellow, they're making them yellow, right? They're making them consistent. And the reason why is the consumer wants consistency, and they want this orange yolk for pastured eggs. Decades ago, that's something that you would look for to prove that the egg was pastured before this adding color to feed was a thing. And the reason why is when hens are on pasture and they're eating greens, they're eating the carotenoid in the green, which then makes the yolk orange. So we removed that from the feed, and we had no idea what's going to happen. Our laying hens are outside. They're eating greens. They're on. You saw it, right?
Yes,
they're outside. And now we have some flocks where the yolks are orange and some flocks where the yolks are yellow, and it's very inconsistent. And our customer has been extremely confused. And we've been doing a lot of talking about it, a lot of education about it, because now we're producing an honest egg.
Right.
And I think that it's really great, and it gives the farmers a really good indication of what's going on, right? Where we were, those were yellow yolk eggs. And you can see the chickens weren't that interested in eating the greens in the pasture.
Right.
But the other farmer who's getting orange yolk eggs, he has a different diversity of plants. The plants are a different age, and the chickens are eating more of the green.
Right.
And so it gives them an indication of how can I do better.
Right.
Right? How can I encourage the chickens? What are you going to do differently next year? Do the chickens need to eat the greens? Are they healthy? Are they not healthy?
Right.
Gives them a better gauge it's an indicator,
Yeah.
of what the chickens are eating.
Right.
And that's really nice to have.
Yeah, and we almost, we chatted the other day too about how, well, if they are consistently that orange, I'm actually a little bit nervous because nature does not provide this consistent orange color through all the seasons, through all the different, locations, right?
Yes, yep. And, matter of fact, the other reason we choose that feed provider is because we made an agreement with them that they will only use local grains from people that they know and trust.
Right.
Like there's this huge fraud organic grain scheme that seems to be happening all the time.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point too, because there's also a lot of farmers around that I highly respect too as well, that even though they may use corn in their feed, the omega ratio at the end of the day, because they are pasture raised, it's because I think it's a holistic approach too. How they're raised and how they're treated, are they getting enough sunlight, and then also the feed that is locally grown that's used, it still results in a very balanced omega ratio at the end, and then as well as, the phytochemicals and antioxidants, and really just a nourishing egg and food for the consumer.
Yeah.
So I think it's a holistic approach, and you guys just definitely embody that from, like I said, from how you guys speak to your farmers and, kind of what you're asking and holding them accountable, and then they want to know and they want to grow with us too. So it's important to just have these conversations so that we can dive into the nitty gritty of these conversations, as opposed to just tell me what color it needs to be. I'm like, That's
we
not
can make it any color you want,
right.
You know,
Yeah,
like that's
you can
not
make
the
it
point.
purple.
Yes,
I'm sure.
Yes, that's not the point here,
Yeah,
though, right?
right.
We're looking for like a really nutritious egg. That's what we want.
Exactly.
Really healthy birds, healthy soil, healthy all of it. That's what we want.
Right.
One of the things that it made me think about, Erin, when you say they know the farmers that grow the grains for the feed, was what Daniel was telling us, the chicken farmer, about the alfalfa, and how he can see the health of the soil in the alfalfa. If it has a hollow stem, it's kind of like they're eating empty calories, versus if it has a. So it made me think about it's not just any wheat, it's not just any peas. When you know the farmer and you know they're doing things right, you're gonna have a healthier nutrition on this level that you don't normally think about it.
Right. I love that. And I, just short of me becoming a farmer myself to all things, chickens to eggs to milk to all of these things. This is why I have these conversations with people like, millers who do provide food for us, and what you guys seek out and how you want to continue to evolve. And if you know better, you always do better. And that's what my trust is in. So corn and soy-free eggs. Then we also have corn and soy-free chicken, which again, it's like one of the only places that I'll get chicken from. There's another one, North Star Bison up in Wisconsin, which also has great chicken too. But you guys over here are fantastic. I just grilled it the other day, that and the pork loin for the first time. And that's also corn and soy-free fed. But you can just taste, again, apart from it being just corn and soy-free, you can just taste the quality. Yeah. So we saw those meat birds the other day, and you had a chicken farm at one point too, didn't you?
Yes, we did have a chicken farm at one, and turkeys.
And turkeys. That's right. Turkeys are coming soon, my friends. I saw the turkeys. We went to the turkey farm, and it's amazing. So do you want to explain a little bit about the bird? Because I was, and I ask questions too. If you see something that could be concerning, or you want to ask questions, and for full transparency, the chickens, maybe there's another term for them, but the meat birds rather, were a little different. They were under this thing, this tent. What do you call it? A dome?
A mobile coop.
A mobile coop. Thank you. Something very simple.
They're called chicken tractors. There's all kinds of words for them. But
and we were trying to move them the other day, which the farmer looked at like he did it with ease, and
yes,
I'm struggling. I'm like, I thought I work out here, but not properly. And so we were moving them, but I asked him do the chickens get let out and whatnot, and he said no. And so if you want to just share a little bit of why they're smaller, predators, or things like that.
Why they're smaller, why they're predators,
or why they're specifically kept in the mobile coop as opposed to the laying hens, which have more access to the outdoors, being indoor and out of the coop.
Well, there's several reasons. One would be, they're not quite as aggressive as a laying hen. Number two is the laying hens, you need to train to go into their coop at night so they don't just get eaten by foxes, skunks, possums. There's all types of creatures that love chicken because they taste so good.
Yeah. Don't blame them.
So I would say those are probably the two biggest reasons that we have them penned up. And if we move them twice a day, it's easy. They have a fresh bar of salad twice a day, basically. When we had chickens at one point, we had so many grasshoppers in this one field, and they would just they would just want to go. They can't wait till we move them because grasshoppers were running all over the place, jumping all over the place.
Yeah, that's amazing. And plus, they still get some sunlight too. It's a little bit, open, and plus, whatever they're getting from the grass and
they pasture. Do, yes. And just like I said, everything loves those chickens.
But important to ask these questions because, if somebody looks at it, such as, someone like myself, who I'm not a chicken farmer, and, there's so many different chickens out there, right? From, what was the ones that were called?
The Cornish cross, and
Cornish
then
cross, yeah.
There's like Freedom Rangers, which is a more heritage. There's so many breeds of chickens.
Right. There's breeds that are different, right? It's not just like, oh, they should be out on open pastures. It's like, no, they got to work with some of the challenges, whether it's from predators to where you're located, because everybody has different predators, everybody has different pests, everybody has all these things. Yeah. And so it's about just trusting, again, who your farmer is to make those decisions when faced with certain challenges. And so, again, really appreciate just you opening up and sharing all this information with me, with our,
we like
community.
When you ask the questions too, because you asked the question, and now we're talking about it.
Right.
And now the chicken farmer, he might be like, listen, I'm going to try opening the door with one of those, with one coop, and let's see what happens, you know?
Oh,
and
no. Oh, no. Now I feel like I'm going to be in trouble.
No, he might do it, you know? And then, but it helps us learn and grow. I think what people that, we get lots of questions. We love questions.
Yes.
And we take them very seriously.
Yeah.
And it might take us a few days to get back to the more complicated ones because we're calling and we're talking to people and we're finding out more. And that's how the change happens, you know, one step at a time.
Yeah, and they are listeners, that is for sure. And so, you know, any suggestions that I have, or maybe places, especially since I've been to different farms and ranches and, you know, what they do over here, it's really nice to just hear you guys just listen and, you know, ultimately make the decision that's best for Miller's Biofarm and potentially make that change and always continue to evolve and progress. If we know better, we do better, and so really appreciate that. Okay, so we saw turkeys, which those are coming soon too, and then we did buffalo. We talked about that, and then I mean honey. Oh my gosh, that was great. So you guys have all of these things. Yeah. What are some of your favorite foods that you consume at Miller's? What is your top 5?
Oh man,
top 5. I know what the top 1 is.
What's the top 1?
That's milk.
Yeah.
Oh, cheese would probably be the second.
Okay, what's your favorite cheese?
Which one?
Yeah.
Cheddar or Colby.
Okay. And I've never had actually like really like raw, like kind of a softer cheese, and you guys have that in your raw Gouda, which is amazing. It's really hard to find a soft cheese that's raw, so that's great. Yeah. And what else? That was top 2.
Top 2.
Well, you just said top 2. Now you have 3 more.
Salami.
Oh, yeah, salami. Yep.
Okay.
Sliced Bresaola and sliced Tuscan.
Oh.
Those are my favorites.
They're so good.
I did have that for the first time the other day. It was
Yeah,
good.
salami is a huge one. You know, I eat eggs every day. If I don't have eggs, I would definitely miss the eggs. Between, I don't know. It's so hard for me to decide which one is the top 5 because we have so many different products that I just love.
Yeah.
Back when I was, you know, still with my parents, we had a conventional dairy farm, and we did not have access to all this.
Right.
And what amazes me about the milk is even employees come in and say, oh, yeah, I never really loved milk. Does start working here. This would be so good.
Yeah. I know. Okay, well then if you can't choose, I can do it.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Ice cream.
Ice cream. Oh my gosh, cottage cheese ice cream. Yes, indeed. Okay, so that's 4 then for you, right? Ice cream.
Yeah.
4. Okay. So yeah, so then maybe I might have 6 because ice cream is definitely one of them. Top contender. But your cottage cheese, which is why I suggested the cottage cheese and ice cream. It's just, I've never had anything like it. Butter, holy moly. I used to go to California actually to get my butter. And this one was just it way better after I tried it. So I found you guys after that. And then I found out that I can get it delivered to my doorstep. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm doing this. And they have unsalted, which again I love. It's all about the details too. I love to just use my own salt. We talked about it a little bit today that, you know, there's plenty of microplastics found in salt, and then as well as some are from land, they're from sea, and so, you know, just sort of diversifying my salt intake to not over accumulate on something, and then also to make sure that I have those minerals as well. And then, so we got butter, we got cottage cheese, we have, oh my gosh, the bacon. Okay, all the bacons, the Canadian bacons, the bacon ends, the, you know, beef bacons you guys even have too. But for the pork, also why I absolutely, this is the only bacon that I would get is because it's nitrate free, corn and soy free, of course. And you guys don't put any celery powder in it or any brown sugar that I just, you go to the grocery store and there's none of that.
It's just salt.
Yeah.
It's just, meat and salt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not even like cured or anything really, right?
Well, this is a hard one because when you go to the store, it can be deceiving. All those packages say uncured. Yeah. But like technically it's salt cured.
Sure.
You know, but like, yeah, if it were to be labeled in a grocery store, it'd be labeled as uncured. Even with celery juice powder, you're adding celery. It's cured with celery juice powder, but you're labeling it as uncured. But it is cured, so that's a very confusing labeling, greenwashing kind of thing that happens in the stores.
So many things with labels, even like raw, you know, cheese in the grocery stores isn't really raw. We talked about this because the temperature of, you know, we even talked about this with, was it Lamar from the Honey Guy or?
We were talking to Junior with cheese.
Oh, no, yesterday's Honey.
Oh, right, yeah, Lamar with honey. Yeah, he was saying the same thing about raw honey, right?
Yeah, and actually that's a whole nother topic too about how raw honey is sort of an unregulated sector, and that's for another discussion. Do we have a whole full week to have this? But from raw, you know, dairy or raw cheese rather, or even butter, actually, there's like a threshold, and it's like, who makes up these rules when, you know, you're still overheating it till you're still losing bacteria and enzymes, where you guys don't do that. You know, you're very, you know, have these standards just to keep the integrity intact. So butter, cottage cheese, we said ice cream, the pork and the bacon. Oh my gosh, it's so good. And then what else did I get from the eggs? I get those delivered uncracked every time. Amazing. Yeah. And now I know who's checking the cracks.
Exactly. Well, it wasn't Chester's son now, right? It has to be someone else. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
What else did you say? Oh, P.S. The yogurt is fantastic. I think that was one of the things.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, because you typed it down too.
Yeah,
The yogurt is fantastic. Everything, honestly, all dairy from them, I can't choose, and so I always get flustered every time I go to order because I'm like, just send the truck. Which I might have a drop-off location in Texas here soon. Okay, so what's your favorite?
Oh boy, only 5. All right. Well, I can tell you what's always stocked in my house, like all the time. I can't run out, otherwise my whole family gets upset. So milk,
yes,
eggs, mild cheddar, and I get the mild cheddar in those like giant 5-pound blocks. My husband calls it a loaf of milk. So anyway,
a loaf of cheese.
That's always in my house.
Yes.
I'm always stocked on butter.
Yes.
Ghee. Is that more than 5? And then some things that I think are super special that I can't buy from anywhere else is hot dogs. It's just like even like the ones in the store that are, I don't know, our hot dogs are great. So I really love the hot dogs as a great option. And ground beef, that's another thing I always keep stocked. I can keep going. I have a lot of things that I just always are stocked. So, but.
They have that too. They do have beef sources as well too. I think that definitely what stands you guys out obviously is your dairy. But yeah, so again, it feels like a farmer's market online where you can just, you don't have to just buy dairy or just buy beef or just buy, corn and soy free, whatever. It's like you can kind of mix and match and make a whole, assemble your own meal just with everything that you guys have, from your honey to your maple syrup to, also the pre-made stuff are so simple, and I typically shy away from anything that's like, don't make it for me, let me just assemble all the ingredients, because I like to pick my sources. But you guys are very meticulous about each ingredient that goes in there, from your ice cream, very simple, to even the brezola that was amazing. I was like, yeah, I'll have it, because these are all quality ingredients that go into it. So so thank you for just being so mindful and intentional with everything, your choices, from down to the food and the ingredients to the employees that you guys have to the farmers you guys have. And so it's such a beautiful, beautiful operation, and I absolutely love it. Yeah. If there's any more questions, I don't believe so, but please comment down below. We'll be on there and we'll answer to any questions you have. So, okay, we covered how Miller's got started, and we didn't cover all of the elements that you guys have going on at Miller's, because again, like I said, this conversation would be super long, but I'm sure we can check back in next year. Also, what else did you want to share? Anything with your customers or the community, or anything that you want to share about Miller's?
Well, I know one thing to let people know is that we're not perfect. No one's perfect, and so but we do our best to convey all the information we possibly can. I don't know if you've seen on the website when you click on the product, if there's anything that could be weird, we have an honest disclosure on every product. Did you see that?
Yep, I love that.
Anything in plastic says, listen, it's BPA free, it's all the freeze, right? But plastic can still leach into your food, right? So we're going to put that, anything that's questionable. Right. And we love when customers ask questions, because we'll add it there. Once we find out, we add it there, and so everyone knows. So it's really just about that transparency and not greenwashing anything. Right. So it would be so easy to do that, right? But that's not what we're doing here, so.
Yeah, and I don't think that's what I'm seeking either, or everybody's seeking. It's not about perfection. It's just about making intentional choices, being transparent, and being open about these, and knowing that you guys are going to push for better if you can, such as even the stainless steel pipes that before you guys bottle your milk, even though so just as much as we can lessen the accumulation of these sort of environmental toxins, then that's sort of the way to help. And yes, did you want to say something?
I would say, from a community standpoint, what was your question now?
Did you have anything to share with your, customers or the community? Anything else that we haven't covered?
So what Miller's Biofarm has come a long way. By far exceeded my expectations. Let's put it that way. But what's nice to see is we have so many small farms. We have so many families that want to help, that want to do this. They want to get out of the conventional farming. They want to, just get out of it. And Miller's provides an opportunity for families to work from home, with their children, to, like the little boy that was, having fun with the chickens yesterday. Yeah. Those experiences, and along with that, we trust and transparency.
Yeah, yeah. And I believe it too. And just being here, like I mentioned too, has just been so eye-opening in many ways. And I visit a lot of farms, and I take a little piece of that farm with me, and their teachings and their learnings and their practices. And so you can't, you can't help but just enjoy the food that much more. So thank you so much for providing that nourishment from an emotional standpoint, as well as to a food standpoint, really. So
yeah.
So thank you guys so much for joining, and thank you for inviting me here.
And you know, if there's anybody that wants to do a horse and buggy delivery all across the U.S., let us know.
Oh my gosh, dodging horse and buggies all over here. Yes, Amish country is just like, it's just been fabulous through and through. So thank you so much for the lessons and the teachings and providing such good food, as well as, you know, brushing up on my driving skills, you know. Horse and buggies. I know, we were all over the place, but such great conversations. And if you guys, like I said, have any more questions, don't forget to hit the subscribe and notification bell so that you can get notified of any other, you know, long form discussions as I visit farms, and bringing you closer to your producer, your farmer, your rancher, your cowboy, what have you. It all happens here, I know. So specifically the West Coast are like, we're cowboys. Like, okay, totally fine. I respect that. And so comment down below. And thank you. This is Marie Reedell. Reedell.
Yeah.
All right. I know, because I saw the double E. And Aaron Miller is also in this kind of avatar here. We're going to put a Miller's Farm logo on top of his face. But that is Aaron Miller too here in this discussion, and essentially probably everybody else behind the scenes too. They're all here. So thank you guys for having me.
Thanks for coming, Lindsay. This was great.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you, Aaron. That was awesome.
My pleasure, Lindsay. Have fun.
Yes, will do. Thank you guys. See you next time.